Good evening to all of you. Um, Thanks, guys, for watching this evening. It's 8 o'clock on Wednesday. It is really sunny. It's really hot here. And I'm looking forward to talking with all you guys from wherever you are watching. Welcome you from the East Coast to West Coast, all over the world. My name's Sam Santalone, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about some very specific things tonight and some neighborhood stuff, some market stuff, answer your questions. Make sure you have any questions that you want. Feel free to throw them into the comments section to the right. Type them in there and I'll be reading them as we go. And I'm also interested, as always, to find out where everybody is from. So if you are watching, let me know where you're from. I'm very curious to hear all the different parts of the areas in the country and the world that people are watching from and learning about the Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Williamsburg area. So drop those below and I'll be reading the comments as we go. But again, be ready to ask questions. I'm going to talk today about not just the market, because the market has changed a little bit even since we've talked last in the last few weeks. Felix, hey Felix. Yeah, Felix, great guy. Looking forward to, we're finding the right house pretty soon, but we're going to talk a lot about neighborhood stuff, but real estate wise specifically, I'd seeing a shift here in the last 2-3 weeks. And I think that as we get into August, this is going to probably stay this way for the next at least 3 to 4 weeks. And we'll talk about like what my thoughts are about that more recent market in August, what that usually looks like all through the area. That's happening as well. Separate from that, if you have any questions about what to do in the next few months, preparing to move here, I do think that I have some relatively strong opinions as to what to do as far as when to buy. If you're going to be buying here within the next 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever, we'll talk about that a little bit as well. And I'm going to go into the top 7 neighborhoods that I think you've never heard of in and around Virginia Beach. And as we go into the next few months, I'm going to be talking a lot about Virginia Beach, but also going to be shifting a lot more attention into the peninsula, anywhere from Hampton, Newport News, and Williamsburg. So I'm going to get a little bit more of a balance there. But as we're talking right now, I'm going to talk about the Virginia Beach area, but that is going to be not just Virginia Beach, but Chesapeake as well, and the entire part of Chesapeake. And we're going to get into some real nooks and crannies of the city, because as things have gotten more expensive, we've had to pivot to, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when interest rates were lower, you can get, a $500,000 house for the price of what now is about a $410,000 house, or a $425 house. And so people's affordabilities have shifted. And now some of these neighborhoods that might have been the most in demand in the area, or at least the most widespread known neighborhoods in the area, have now started you have to start making some concessions. And so that's where it's important to me to find those nooks and crannies that are places you might not have even heard of, not even known to research, but might be good pivot points from some of these more known neighborhoods. And so when I talk about these neighborhoods, we're going to go into, I'll tell you the neighborhood, but also give you the pivot from, if you're looking for this kind of a neighborhood or this specific neighborhood, this is a good alternative to that, and get into why. So as people come in here, I'm going to start talking about the neighborhoods. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask as we go. But number 7 is a neighborhood called Southern Woods. And Southern Woods is in Virginia Beach. It's on the southeastern section of Virginia Beach. And if you look on the map, I'm going to share my screen and show you the map here. See, every time I do this, you think it would be easier, but it's not. Okay, so Southern Woods is over on the southeastern section of Virginia Beach. It's actually close to Red Mill. And we're going to zoom in. Actually, let me show you first the I'm going to go into Southern Woods. I'm going to show, people seem to like me showing the MLS with you. So I'm going to share that as well as we go along and show you what's on the market or has been on the market in specific neighborhoods. And we'll talk about specifically Southern Woods. And right now, nothing is on the market in Southern Woods. Not a surprise, not a very big neighborhood. But you see a few in here that have sold in the last 6 months in the 5 to 6 range. 675, you get one for 680, but like that 25 to 3,000 square feet range. And so if you look at it, the specific neighborhood, so I talk a lot about Red Mill and the areas around Red Mill. It's a very popular neighborhood, and we're not going to be just pushing away from this area at all once we finish talking about Southern Woods, because it's a very popular spot, and I think there's some nooks and crannies there to look at. But in general, Sandbridge and Upton Drive. So you look at Sandbridge, one of the reasons why I like Red Mill is it's close to Sandbridge. Sandbridge is right over here to the west side of, the east side of the of Virginia Beach, but just south of the ocean front. And so it's that quiet beach that it's great to be close to, but very few places are that close to it. So this is it's a small neighborhood, and so I'm going to shift back over to the map and do I drop my pin over to, let's see, there it is, right here. So you can see what it looks like as we drive around. So this is the main street, Elson Green Avenue, where you kind of drive through. This is one of the things I like about Southern Woods and a lot about Red Mill in general is the fact that you have lots of sidewalks. And I've talked a lot about sidewalks with people who have been here just for a short period of time, and they're shocked at how few sidewalks there are. And it's true, there aren't very many. And I grew up not knowing that was an uncommon thing, or it was uncommon to not have sidewalks. I walked in the street my whole childhood. And so point being is that there are a lot of sidewalks in some of the main streets around Red Mill, and then specifically like Elson Green Avenue here, as you can see here. One of the things I like about Southern Woods as well, though, is not just the location, school districts, checks all those boxes, but you notice one thing here is that there are a lot of houses that have a little bit extra distance away from each house, especially as you get into the cul-de-sacs. Now, Elson Green itself, not as much, but as you get into those cul-de-sacs, there is some yard to them. And so it feels a little bit bigger, a little more spread out than you can get in other parts of Red Mill for similar prices. But again, it's like finding that sweet spot between not paying too much, not going too high, but also getting everything that you want. And if you like, the extra little bit of yard, I would consider Southern Woods as an option. So Southern Woods is a big deal for that reason. You got the pricing, again, mid fives to mid sixes. And now as well, you're getting close to a lot of those amenities in the school districts that I think are really important to be in, not just Red Mill, but Kellam High School is a really popular high school and in demand, high ranked in niche.com, all of that. And you can check out those rankings as well. But that's one of the reasons why I like Southern Woods and why it made my top 7 neighborhoods you've never heard of in Virginia Beach in the area. So that leads me to number 6, which is Point Elizabeth in Chesapeake. So I've mentioned this a few times and dropped them in nuggets before, but it's not really talked about that much. Also, part of the reason is because it is in Western Branch. So I'll show you on the map as well. I'm going to show you again back to the MLS. Let's go to Point. Oh, that's right. I got to share my screen again so you can see where I'm referencing. And there are more houses in Point Elizabeth, which leads to more options in general. And so going over to here, you see here, there are several different types. If you notice on the MLS, you've got detached, DET, which represents detached, attached, which is ATT, and it's an attached townhouse. So there are multiple. There's also detached and attached houses in Point Elizabeth. And so if you notice, looking on the map, you'll see you got the Western Branch. So you know where Chesapeake is, the South Chesapeake area, all that. The pivot point, good school district, but a little bit further drive is Western Branch. But in the northern section of Western Branch, close to Portsmouth, but in Western Branch in Chesapeake, is over in this corner here on the Elizabeth River, Point Elizabeth, Entire Neck Road and Bruce Road. This corner over here, you're kind of tucked in that little nook. And if you're in that nook, you don't really feel like you're in Western Branch. So you're not like stuck in the middle of a bunch of craziness, or hustle and bustle. But you're just an extra level of layer away from everything else to where it's a real nice secluded area. And so these houses were selling, detached houses in the 200s, 250, 260, 270. I mean, recently 3-bedroom, 2-bath. There's one on that one Cardiff that sold for $235, and there you go, Cardiff Lane. And so there's another one, Whitechapel Arch. Point being is that you can get affordable options in townhouse style in Point Elizabeth. Now, however, when you take out attached and you just do detached, that's where you start noticing the price change. So I do still think one of the reasons why I like Point Elizabeth is because you can get a nice house in the neighborhood for the 300 to 400 price range. And it's a brick ranch style a lot of times, but you see 335, 1.05. I'll show you, talk about waterfront in a minute, but 335, 553, that's a larger one. 355, 365, 435. So they're bumping up into the fours, but you can still get the smaller floor plans often in the $300,000 to $400,000 price range. So going back to the map, show you my Google Maps. Okay. So as we zoom out of Ellison Green or out of Southern Woods, going over to Point Elizabeth, you'll see as you drop into Street View, notice it's pretty secluded. It's nothing extremely fancy. These houses were built in the 50s, 60s, but you notice again, the yard sizes are pretty nice for what you're paying for the 3s and 4s. And so same things, you get sidewalks. It's another benefit to being over in this section, which again is not super common. So you got more ranches in this neighborhood, but does not mean that they're all ranches. You do have a decent amount of single or detached or two-story. But as you get over towards the water, you notice, see these lots? This is a massive corner lot, over $1 million. So once you get to the waterfront, which takes you the waterfront on Elizabeth River, deep water access, it takes you in minutes, I say 15, 20, 30 minutes. I mean, it depends on how far you want to go. You can get to downtown Norfolk. You can get over into the Bay. You can get over past Norfolk and towards Hampton if you wanted to, because you are in a spot that gives you access to that in that section of Elizabeth River with that waterfront access point. But it's going to be expensive. No cheaper than $850, $900. But it's, you can find them cheaper, I suppose, especially as you get closer in off the main side or the larger lot size side. But again, just keep in mind that once you get on the water access point, it's going to be much more expensive. The $300,000 to $400,000 price range is kind of doesn't exist at that point. So one of the things though to note about Point Elizabeth that's a drawback, and I think is very important, is that you notice that not only there are spots along the shore that can be more prone to flooding, or at least require you to pay flood insurance that FEMA requires you to pay. That does exist. But that being said, in addition to that, these houses not only are built on crawl spaces, they have a propensity to have more crawl space damage due to moisture activity, meaning moisture damage, or termites. I've talked to the termite company that I like a lot. We've had conversations about this multiple times about how much moisture content how high moisture content there can be in Point Elizabeth. And so it's not surprising if you do get a house in Point Elizabeth to make sure not only are you maintaining the crawl space, getting it inspected, getting a termite treatment or a warranty on the house annually, but just know that when you buy the house, there's a good chance that of the people that do own houses in Point Elizabeth, not everybody does the maintenance that's required or the constant upkeep to make sure that their crawl space and this structure is maintained properly. And so you might buy a house that might need $2,000-3,000 or more of crawl space work done to it before you can really get in there and start doing other things. So that happens sometimes, especially if people are not maintaining their property, but especially in a place like Point Elizabeth, where you'll start seeing more and more the lack of maintenance creates more damage because of this high moisture content. So then that's shifting the attention over to number 5, which ironically someone just asked me about this neighborhood, which makes me think that maybe it's more heard of than I realize, but it's called Riverbend. And I literally just I heard from someone talking about this specific neighborhood just like 10 minutes before we went live. Shocking. I had not heard anybody that I know talk about Riverbend before. But if you want a larger house, I'm talking 3,000, 4,000 plus square foot, and you don't want to pay too much. And I say too much, meaning 600,000 to 700,000 in that range. If you want that size, but you don't want to be like in the 8s, 9s, and over $1 million, but you still want the school district, Riverbend is a good option. And I want to show you, going back to the MLS, you can see what the sizes, what the price ranges are that I'm talking about. So we go back. Oops. go back to, thank you for bearing with me every time. So only 4 have sold in the last 6 months. And not a big neighborhood, not well known. 6 in the last year. So every couple of months, one comes up here, and you see 6s to 7s mostly in that price range. But you see the square footage: 3,600, 4,000, 38, 39, 3,000, 4,000 square feet. So, and then bedrooms, 4, 6, 5s. And, you know, see, they're large houses. Now that also can affect demand, because if you get a too big of a house, it does cut down on the pool of the buyer pool that might want that house. But for the price, it does help kind of offset that. But I'm going to show you on the map where Riverbend is. All right, so for point of reference, you know where Point Elizabeth is, which is up here near Tire Neck Road, Bruce Road, near Elizabeth River. So the same river, as you keep going down further south, in this finger of the river, closer to the edge, there's a road called Dock Landing. This is Western Branch South. And Western Branch North and South are bordered by Portsmouth Boulevard. So once you go further south from Portsmouth Boulevard, that's when you get into Western Branch South. The southern point of that is where the south part of Dock Landing Road is. And the very southern tip, to me, of Western Branch is really Riverbend, which is because it's named that because the Elizabeth River bends right where the neighborhood is. And so the most expensive ones, of course, $750 is one along the water. But you notice here, the lot sizes and shapes, the ones along the water, they've got more marshy aspects in a lot of those lots, but you do have some water access for pretty cheap. I mean, again, $750 for what you're getting is actually not bad at all for that amount of water access. And then the size, the location. See that lot in the back there? It's, again, for what you're paying for, it's hard to find that, and hard to find the lot configuration that fits these types of parameters. This is why I like Western Branch in general, but specifically Riverbend. So I'll go back on the map. I'll share it with you. So we can go to here. Let me go to here. And going back to Google Maps. So you just boop, go down south. There's Dock Landing Road. And then there on the very bottom is Riverbend. And you're close to one of the most popular Christmas lights locations in the area too, which is on Woodland Drive, which I can get into that more in Christmas time, but you're close to that. You could probably walk there. And so you drop a pin, there's Deep Run Drive. And so you can see, one thing I can notice too is you do have some McMansion-esqueness to the style and the years that a lot of the houses in Western Branch were built. But you also notice just a little bit of unique charm to some of the houses too. You got the Cape Cod style, like that house right there. You have some that are brick. You have some that are vinyl. You've got some that are just your traditional 2-story with a 2-car garage. But you have a mixture. But again, you notice, and it happens a lot in Western Branch, you have the lot size. It's very hard to replicate and for the price. And so for the low 6s or mid 6s, for the size house to be in a Western Branch school district, for the like 3,000 to 4,000 square feet, this is a very uncommon style neighborhood for the price. And again, one of the things you can notice too is people take care of their lawns here. And again, if you want the water access, 7s it's not unheard of to get a house, maybe even in the 8s at this point, on the water access in Riverbend. But it's not crazy in general in Western Branch anyway. But I like Riverbend for this reason. And I think that if you want the school district, you want the location, and again, you pop off on Dock Landing, you're right close to 664 right here, which takes you, as just a general course on Western Branch, you can go up to Hampton, Newport News, up to the peninsula in a matter of, from there, about 15 minutes. It can be as much as 45 to an hour if the traffic's bad, but it can be maybe 12 because you're so close to the interstate. Or you can hit 264 and go from there over all the way into downtown Norfolk, take the tunnel, the Midtown Tunnel or the downtown tunnel, be it over in Norfolk in about 20 minutes-ish. And then Virginia Beach, that's where it gets into. You're getting the affordability of Western Branch probably because you're further away from parts of Chesapeake and also parts of Virginia Beach specifically. And so you're about 35 to 45 minutes away from most of Virginia Beach, more like 35 in a lot of places. But you don't have to go through the toll unless you want to. You can go all the way around 64, this horseshoe here, and go all the way towards Virginia Beach this way. But this loop, this 64 loop, goes up into the peninsula the both directions. So you can literally, people sometimes do a loop all the way around if they have to avoid traffic, and that does happen. Trucks do that a lot. If they're too high going through the tunnel and the truck's too tall, they turn around and go all the way around. So anyway, shifting back over to what it will be the number 4 neighborhood, which is, this one is, you hear me talk a lot about the general neighborhood of where this next one is, but this specific spot in the neighborhood, I think, is a great hack to get a great school for a cheaper price. And the answer is Kings Grant Landing in Virginia Beach. So Kings Grant, I've talked about Kings Grant all the time. I love Kings Grant, and I'll show you on the map where that is, and I'll go back to the MLS in a minute too. But if you notice, Kings Grant, there's Little Neck, right? So you got Virginia Beach. Great Neck's right here. Little Neck is right here. Little Neck is like, again, I call it the cul-de-sac of Virginia Beach, the big cul-de-sac. You can't, if you go in, you can't get out without going back where you came from. And so the further north you go, the more expensive it usually gets in general. But the south central section, or the central section really, is Kings Grant. And there are 2 sides to Kings Grant. There's the Kings Grant side that is in the Kings Grant Elementary School District. Then there's the Kings Grant side that's in the Kingston Elementary School District. There's Kingston right there. And this section is a little bit more expensive, partly for that reason, and the demand of Kingston Elementary School. And if you drop a pin, just to show you where Kings Grant, what it looks like, this is just Duke of York. I don't know, I'm making it, I don't even know which street this is on. But the Kings Grant is very relaxed. It's got, 2-story, 1,800 square foot up to like 4,000 square feet sometimes. But you've got real traditional, real standard types of neighborhoods, but you're in a very strong school district, in a very, like, it's loaded with people that are coming for that school. And so you get the similar types of people might come in here for that reason. And so you have the trees, you have it's a little bit older of a neighborhood, but you have a lot of newer renovated houses in here that they took the older floor plan and reconfigured it to more of a traditional, or I'm sorry, a modern style. But Suffolk Lane, good example of this. So this is these houses are anywhere from the 4s, 5s, and 6s, most of them, until you get in the back where it's a $7 to $1+ million. But here's Kings Grant Landing. If you go just outside of Kingston Elementary School and go north and go on Oxford Drive, see, there's a school. Take the this is the we call it the roundabout, or the traffic circle. Go all the way around, turn right on Oxford Drive. There's one little neighborhood called Kings Grant Landing, which you drive in, and these are all townhouses. So the reason why, like, and they're brick, right? They're like it's Kings Grant, but it's townhouse. It's not a very big neighborhood. It's tucked in the corner. And I'll show you how kind of tucked away it is. If you're so focused on Kings Grant, the rest of the neighborhood, it's easy to forget it. So if you drop in and you're on that cul-de-sac, or you're on the traffic circle, you straight ahead, you can see the school in front of you, and you don't even notice. And you see the school, and you just drove past the turn. That's the turn right there. And you keep driving, and you turn left, and that's where the townhouses are. This is a big deal because for the price of a townhouse in this neighborhood, you can get in the $350, $375 or less price range. And so I'll show you what I mean. Kings Grant Landing. I'll share back on the MLS. Here we go. And as you can see, nothing. Oh, that's not right. There you go. Nine have sold in here in the last year. But you see the time on market, 2, 3, 2, 2, 1. And then you can tell too, eventually you're going to see some people are going to be trying hard to sell. They're trying to push the values up in here because it's Kings Grant Landing, or because it's Kings Grant. And one of the benefits to the area too is it is in the Kingston Elementary School District. So you're not in Kings Grant Elementary, you're in Kingston, the one that's usually it's higher ranked on niche and great schools. So for $350, $325, $300 in a lot of cases, you can be in Kings Grant in the school district that you might want. And I mean, you can't find this anywhere else, really. So, like, for example, 921 Sir Wilfrid. That one is, I'm going to go to show the one that is pending right now. This one's pending. This one went $295, and it probably went around $295. But it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,700 square feet. So because of that, 1,700 square feet in the actual Kings Grant neighborhood is going to be closer to 380, 425, really in the low fours at this point in Kings Grant in the Kingston Elementary School District side. So this is an important distinction. And I think that if you want to be in Kingston Elementary School district, this is the place. This is a very important spot to focus on because you really can't find this very many other places to be in the school district that you might want. Otherwise, you might be spending a lot more money in the process. And that's really the only townhouse spot in that general area that is in that price range. So that's number 4. We're getting close. Number 3 is Cape Story by the Sea. So Cape Story by the Sea. The reason I think I like Cape Story by the Sea is if you're looking for beach access and you find you don't like Sandbridge, you don't like the oceanfront. North End's too expensive. Chicks Beach is hard to find something, but it's also getting to be too expensive and kind of cramped. Cape Story by the Sea is a pivot to a lot of those places. It's not a perfect answer to some of those questions. Like, for example, it's a small neighborhood. That's one of the reasons why people don't know about it as much. It's also, sometimes you get smaller houses. That's really the main drawbacks, I'd say. It's getting expensive, but any beach access neighborhood can be expensive. I'm going to show you on the map where it is. So Cape Story by the Sea is, the problem is most houses in here don't really go on the market very frequently. They do, but it's not very common for how many houses that there are. And so you see there's 19 sold in the last year. So one every month and a half or so, you'll see one that pops up. But of those, the ones on the ocean, 813, that one must have been a teardown, or not a teardown, but a small one, or a attached house, which it was, 3.95 million, which is right on the water. It sold 950. If you go across Shore Drive, and if you notice, so this is where I should rewind. Cape Story by the Sea itself is not just on the ocean side itself. There's Shore Drive. This is just north of not just Little Neck, but north of Great Neck, and it's near Shore Drive, which takes you towards Norfolk, into like Little Creek, into Norfolk Navy Base, and even towards Ocean View, and towards Route 13, which takes you up towards the Eastern Shore, but also it takes you over to the eastern side of Virginia Beach, over towards the north end, towards the ocean front. So it's really quick access to Shore Drive, and there's lots of restaurants in and around Shore Drive and near North Great Neck Road. And so you're on the beach side. You can be on the beach side, and you can be under $1 million ish in that price in Cape Story by the Sea. And so you get that access part of beach access. But if you're okay with being off the water just a little bit, it extends south of Shore Drive into this section as well. Now, the thing about Cape Story by the Sea, and I'm going to go back and share the map with you, is that a couple of different things that I think make it appealing, and also this is why it's a little bit cheaper, is dropping a pin on, let's just say, Wake Forest Street. You get a lot of wide ranges of types of houses, and this is part of the beach living itself. Small lots for the most part. You get bungalows on one side, you get 2-story kind of more traditional houses on the other. It's a mixture. It's a mishmash. That's what you get with beach access, especially Virginia Beach. But you also get the trees that I think is also kind of hard to find with this mixture. It reminds me a little bit of Shadow Lawn, which is in the southeastern section of Virginia Beach that is closer to the ocean front. So I like Cape Story by the Sea because it has some of those similar elements to it. But it's also, you can also just walk across the street. It's a busy street, but you can walk across the street to the beach. Now, another thing that it also has, and I'm going to do an overhead to show you this one. You see Cape Story Park here, this pin. Well, if you do an overhead view, this is a trail. This trail runs between all the streets on near Shore Drive and going just further south. This trail goes all the way through this park, which is the First Landing State Park. Now that's the Cape Henry base over here, Fort Story. That's not what it goes into the military base or connects to it, but that's not what we're talking about. South of Shore Drive, this whole section here is First Landing State Park. And there's trails in here, awesome trails all through and going further south towards the north end. This is a massive piece of property, massive place to hike, place to do trail runs. I've run in here before. It's a very quiet area and it's long, and there's trails in here, nice trails. But at the same time, this one trail, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you, the Cape Henry Trail is what it's called. It connects from Cape Story by the Sea and goes over into the park. And so for free, because you have to pay to park in the visitor center over in First Landing Beach, near the parking site and the campground over here. You have to pay to park over here. We can do that trail, and it's great. So that's a bonus access to being in this general section of Shore Drive. One of the other reasons why I like Cape Story by the Sea. And again, price ranges, going back, you're talking in and around, let's see, I can show you, 7s, 8s. You can get cheaper ones, though, in the 5s and 6s. Those smaller houses, like 1,100 square feet, 1,500 square feet, you can get into 5s and 6s, get beach access, and you get, things you can't easily find in other places. And especially if you don't want to pay as much to be over in like close to North End, if we're close to Shadow Lawn, or if you don't want as much action that, being close to Shadow Lawn provides. It's almost the same price as Shadow Lawn. It's a little bit cheaper in some spots, a little bit more expensive in some spots. But if you want like closer access to these restaurants and also towards just Shore Drive in general, which has a ton of great stuff along that whole side, and also access to First Landing, I like Cape Story by the Sea. So that's, to me, a good pivot neighborhood if you want beach access but don't want to jump into all the others that might be more popular or more discussed, if you will. So now we're going counting down. And again, if you're watching, where are you guys from? I want to know where you're from. Drop a comment if you have questions, of course, but also let me know where you guys are watching from. I'm very interested to hear. And if you have any questions, please, of course, let me know as well. And feel free to stop me, or again, if I finish the list, if you have any questions, I'll answer them as well. It could be during it or after I finish the top 7. But we're getting close to the end here of the top numbers. But number 2, excuse me, is an area that I know very well. I grew up near this area. Oops. It's called Westview Village, as well as there are several others. But Westview Village is one of the several neighborhoods that I think they're kind of in a cluster. And I probably should have typed them all out together. Homestead, Cedar Hill, and what's the other? Haven Heights. Sorry, and I didn't put those in all together. But the reason I put them together in my mind is because there's similar houses and similar price ranges. And if you want Virginia Beach, not necessarily the Kellam School District, but if you want like Virginia Beach, quick access to things, easy access to interstate systems, shopping, and you just want that access, but you're okay with pivoting to the western side of Virginia Beach, and you're okay with older houses like 50s and 60s houses, there are some neighborhoods that are awesome for the 300 to 425, really 400,000 price range. And it's these 4, mainly Westview, Haven Heights, Cedar Hill, and what was the other one that I forgot? I didn't mention is Homestead. Now, where are these guys? Doing this all now by memory, but you see Providence Road here. Going back and getting some parameters. 64 east and west connects all through the western part of Virginia Beach. And if you look at Providence Road and Indian River Road right here, there's like a swath of houses that were built in the 50s and 60s that are between Providence Road and between Indian River Road. And that's where we're talking about. This is where, and I guess further west as well, because Westview Village is over here. Near Lakeville Estates as well. It's over here as well. And this whole section I would also include, but Westview is great because I say for 3 bedroom, 1.5 baths, 3 bedroom, 2 baths, you can be in, again, for 300,000, 285, 310, nothing fancy, but extremely functional, and often with garages. And for the price for the garage, it's very hard to find that. So you can get a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house sometimes in the $300,000 price range, and you have quick access to lots of things. And so, again, you notice the lot sizes aren't small; they're not really tiny, but they're manageable. Everything in that location is, generally speaking, very manageable. And the same goes to Haven Heights, Cedar Hill, and Homestead. Drop a pin down over into Cedar Hill. Same thing. You see, for about 10 years, the Brick Ranch thing was a big deal. But what was nice though is in the 50s and 60s, the lot sizes were a bit wider. And so if you notice, you get a little bit more yard. It's not, you see some of these neighborhoods in Virginia Beach, especially that some of these for the price, you're going to be getting a little bit closer together. And so some people don't like that. I don't often like that, but being just far enough away gives you that extra space to stretch that you just can't find many places. And so to be able to do that for 300,000 or in that range is awesome. And some people have been in here for decades, bought the house new in 58, for example, kept it for until, and just kept it forever. You see a lot of the like new driveways. People keep up their lots quite a bit. Now you will see a mishmash. It's not all perfect, but that's part of what makes it a little bit cheaper. But I do love the pivot. And so another hack that I mentioned before about getting a little bit cheaper price or cheaper house for value purposes is going, instead of 3-bedroom 2-bath, 4-bedroom 2-bath, do a 3-bedroom 1.5 bath if you're okay with that size. The reason is because it's just cheaper enough to where like maybe that extra $15,000-$20,000 difference, if there is a difference like that, gives you the ability to get a little bit better neighborhood, a little bit better size yard, which is what this type of neighborhood allows, because there are enough houses in here that have those specs that can stay in that price range. So and get detached houses if you don't want an attached house. So I love this general area. And if you keep going, I'm going to pull out of this side, going further over near Whitehurst Landing. Same thing. This whole section is very similar in terms of the style of house, but you get some mixtures in terms of, maybe some were built in the 50s, some were built in like the mid 60s, early 60s. You get a little bit of a difference here, like for example, but in general, they're generally the same type of area. And so you can be in the 3 and 4. You'll see some there in the 4s and 5s sometimes, but mostly 3 to 4. And sometimes they just get under 3, which is awesome. And so to be close to the interstate, be close to Providence Road, close to shopping, you got Kroger right here. You've got a Food Lion over here. I don't like Food Lion as much, but you're also about 10, 12 minutes away from Town Center, which has Wegmans, which has Target. The mall, the new shopping over in here, the restaurants. You're not far away from that either. And you're about 20 minutes away, 18, 20 minutes away from the ocean front. And you're also close to, again, you're about 20 minutes away from a lot of things, but close to other beach access as well. So you're not too far away from a lot of things, and you get a lot of things bang for buck for this style of house. Now, one of the things I'll mention, and I keep mentioning this for the price range, not price range, for the ages of the houses, is that as we're getting into the 50s and 60s houses, we're getting more conversations about the sewer drain lines that connect from the house to the street. These are cast iron pipe quite often. So when you buy a house in this age range, you might find a drain line, meaning the actual drain that connects from the house to the street could be likely made of cast iron pipe when you buy it. The reason that matters is because they can eventually decay and break down, and then you have to replace the entire pipe. But the reason that's a problem is if you don't have insurance from this pipe, you're going to have to pay out of pocket. It can be $5, $8, $10 or more $1,000 to replace that drain line. And it's going to be closer to 10 is my guess. So you can get insurance for this. And so check with your insurance company, see what options you have. There are some places that can insure these drain lines. And it's like, I think like $8, $10 a month, I think is my guess for most of these insurance policies. But it's, I think, something worth checking into. It will increase your policy, but I think it might be worth it if you're getting close to that being a potential concern. So I would definitely do that, especially if you're going to be getting a house in the 50s and 60s in Virginia Beach, or nearly anywhere in Hampton Roads. Or if you decide not to move to Virginia Beach or Hampton Roads or Williamsburg, if wherever you go, it might still be a common thing. So keep that in mind wherever you end up going. Go back to the comments. Braden, is Braden still watching? Hey, Braden, thank you. Virginia Beach is, would you say the place to be? Would you rather have moved to Chesapeake? Tell me about that. Answer me, Braden. Do you like Virginia Beach over Chesapeake? Because I'm talking mostly those two cities as of now. So tell me which one you like better. Isaiah, hey, I remember you, Isaiah. Thanks for watching again. Brian recently moved to Virginia Beach. Thanks for great info to help select the neighborhood. Yeah, Brian. If you have questions, let me know. I'll drop my contact info too if you have any needs or whatever. You can throw it in the comments, or you can send me an email. I'll put my email address in later. John from Delaware, love your videos. Thanks. Can you do something like this for Williamsburg? I will. And I was mentioning that earlier about how there'll be some balance between going to Virginia Beach and going over to Williamsburg. Some people are comparing both, and even some people are just doing Williamsburg instead of Virginia Beach. And so I'm going to be talking a lot more about going into that general area for, not just Williamsburg, but also York County, also going into James City County, going into Grafton, that area too. We'll talk about that. And as I think there are some spots that people don't realize are there. And also going, I'm going to do all of it. And so I might start pumping up some more videos here as we get into the fall for all of those areas. Kerry Blevins, Food Line. Yeah, not a fan. I grew up next to one, whatever. Not a big fan. Thoughts on Windsor Oaks and Woods? Okay, great comment. Windsor Oaks and Woods. I wouldn't have put that neighborhood on this list because it was kind of more well known. I think for the price, it is to me one of the best values for location in Virginia Beach. Period. You can get a house under 400, in and around 4, sometimes still even in the mid 3s. And depends on the size, you can get in that range. I love it because I'll show you on the map. I'll stop here for a minute and show you what I'm talking about. Now, there are a lot of similar spots that kind of bleed together. There's Princess Anne Plaza, there's Windsor Oaks, there's Windsor Woods. Windsor Oaks and Windsor Woods all through this section here. I love this area. One of the reasons is because you're close to a lot. You're close to Mount Trashmore. You're close to Town Center. You're close to Virginia Beach Boulevard and 264. You're close to a lot. Shopping's easy, close to Kroger, close to Wegmans. You can get to the oceanfront in about 16 minutes. You can get to 264 and 64, that corridor, in about 10-ish, 12 minutes. So that is one of the biggest deals. And the fact that you can get for the price is one of to me, the best values in anywhere in the area. And also because you can get a nice yard size. Again, I get back to yard size to where you can pay and be filled really, really stuck close together again, it's like 5 feet, 10 feet difference, but it can make a big difference, right? And I'll show you, I'll drop a pin here just as an example of what I'm talking about. And the pin's not helping. There we go. So if you're talking about, if you go further south into like places like Indian Lakes, which I like Indian Lakes for different reasons, but you're going to be paying about the same, around the same for a little bit smaller lot. You're going to be getting a nice lot size here. Sometimes you get a little bit more character. Like, for example, this house has that little bit of a ridge. I love it for the anywhere from like the 325 to 4 range. I like this access point. Close friend of mine, we just, being accessible to Mount Trashmore is awesome. And then, so we just walked over to Mount Trashmore recently. And I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. There's actually an access point into Mount Trashmore, which is one of the largest parks anywhere in Virginia Beach. You can walk right here. I can't do it now, can I? Nope. All right. So it's the overhead view will show you. You can walk from Windsor Oaks over to Mount Trashmore, and then you can walk the trails. If you're not familiar with Mount Trashmore, it's not the biggest park in Virginia Beach. It's one of the biggest, but I'd say of anywhere, it is I'd say the most convenient. And if you're that close to Mount Trashmore, I think it's just a nice benefit to being in here. And for the price, it's awesome to get close to there. Great. Yeah, definitely good advice on cast iron pipe insurance. Yeah, absolutely. Virginia Beach is your favorite city. Glad you mentioned that too. So if you have any more questions, let me know. If you have any more comments about the neighborhoods, let me know. And I want to talk to you about my number one neighborhood that you had not heard of. And you might have heard of this one before. But who knows? It's called Sherwood Lakes in Virginia Beach. Where's Sherwood Lakes, you ask? I will tell you where Sherwood Lakes is. It is, we mentioned Red Mill before in number 7, which is Southern Woods. If you go just further south of there, people talk a lot about Asheville Park. Asheville Park and Heritage Park, 2 that are next to each other that are just right near close to Sandbridge Road. There's Heritage Park. There's Asheville Park. Drop in a pin. This might, if you've heard of them, or heard of them but don't know what they look like. This might jog your memory. It won't let me do it. It's a newer neighborhood with a lot of, actually, I don't think, there you go. There we go. Okay, doesn't even show them. Well, there's some like huge houses, 4, 5, 6+ thousand square feet in parts of the neighborhood. Then there are some that are like 3 and less, 2,500 square feet. But these are in the 7, 8, 900,000 price range and up. It's getting more expensive. But if you want to pivot from here, you want to be close to this area, Kellam High School District, but you want to be near, for example, Pungo, near Being the Biscuit, good restaurants, new developments coming up in here, new restaurants, Shorebreak Pizzas down here coming up soon. There's going to be what was the other restaurant soon that was coming up over? I can't remember now. I did a video about this like 3 weeks ago about what's coming in Virginia Beach, and I mentioned this area. But Sherwood Lakes is right near the lake. Oh, there it is, Shorebreak Pizza. But there's some happenings right next to there as well. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. Anyway, so you see the lake there. It's nothing fancy as far as the lake goes, but it's a nice lake, and it's hard to find lakes like that anywhere on the side of the area. It's separate from Ocean Lakes itself. These houses are anywhere from like 2,500, 2,000 sometimes square feet to more, 3,000 and up for detached. The detached houses are really in the 5s, 6s, and 7. I think you might want to find one in the 7s. But you can find this as a nice pivot, cheaper than going over to Asheville Park and just paying up for that in the HOA that Asheville Park has if you don't want that HOA. Sherwood Lakes is right down the street, and it also is near, or it has townhouses as well. Townhouses being, I'm going to show you over here, dropping that pin. Oh, I guess you can't get into all of them, but you'll see those are single families on this side. The townhouses are over here. They just started building them when they were doing this map here, but 2011. So yeah, these are only 8-10 years old for the most part. So this area, for the price, you can get townhouses $425, $400. I like that. I like what you're going to get there for that, even though it's it's hard to pay $425 for a townhouse and paying a fee, but for the location, the demand, I will tell you that of anywhere of the people I've worked with in the last couple of years, of people relocating to the area, anywhere in all of Virginia Beach or anywhere in Hampton Roads, Red Mill in near Kellam High School in the southeastern Virginia Beach area is one of the most popular sought out places anywhere in the area. So if you're looking for the demand, I would come in this section. If you have nothing else and just want a house that you know that everybody else will want, and that will generally check the boxes here. As we get more expensive, it might be a little bit more complicated there, but in general, and that's not the big concern for me right now, because there are enough unique things in southeastern Virginia Beach that are just hard to replicate. The drawbacks here is that you're in the southeastern corner. And so I've mentioned this in other videos about this area, is that it takes a while to get to other parts of the area. So if you're stationed at Oceana, 15 minutes, not bad. If you're stationed at at the Norfolk Navy base, or even Little Neck, Little Creek, 35, 45 minutes is not unheard of as a normal drive to get to the ocean, to Norfolk Navy base. So it does take a while to get to the rest of the area, maybe even 40+ minutes, really, realistically speaking, to get across the entire section of the south side. But, that being said, if you don't need that, your whole ecosystem is here. Strawbridge, you got Red Mill Commons, shopping up and down, and you're also close to Sandbridge and also close to the ocean front. So I would say, in general, I would focus on southeastern Virginia Beach as long as you don't have to be everywhere else in the south, in Hampton Roads or in Virginia Beach. So that's why I like Sherwood Lakes as my #1 neighborhood you've never heard of. And if you have heard of it, tell me. But in general, I think you probably have never heard of it. I would seek out after neighborhoods like this if you don't want to go after the ones that are most popular in and around the same general area. So to answer some more questions, thanks, Sam. Just close on a house by Windsor Oaks Elementary. Yeah, there you go, sub 310. Congratulations, great spot. I love it. And you probably have seen and found out some of the things that I've been talking about even just recently here. So hopefully you love it over there. What about College Park, Level Green areas in Virginia Beach? Good question. So College Park and Level Green. So for pricing, College Park is a sneaky good spot. Back to neighborhoods, quality mixed with lot size, mixed with size of house. I love College Park for that reason. School districts are not in high demand. They're not in high demand. That's what makes it cheaper. You're close to some spots that people don't always want to be near. I would say in general, though, I think it's not super convenient to the eastern side of town, but it's extremely convenient. And I have friends that live in College Park or lived in College Park, love the detached single family neighborhoods over there. And where am I going? There's College Park Elementary, because you're close to Providence Road. So for location, I think it's fantastic. I think it's hard to replicate the size and the price of the houses for what you get. This is Auburn Drive. You get a little bit more house in here compared to, for example, over in the central or like really the eastern part of Virginia Beach. So for $335, $350, you can get a house that over on the eastern side, it's probably going to be $450 to $500. So it's a bit cheaper over here. Level Green, I would just be watchful of each spot in Level Green. It's definitely, you'll notice the neighborhoods can change feel pretty quickly as you get into different parts of Level Green. And even from College Park to Level Green, like you'll see that whole section here, there's Level Green Boulevard. This whole section here, there are different vibes as you go through the whole area. So it just depends on where. But the fact you're close to Indian River Road and Providence Road is the positive here. And also close to the interstates, I think it's helpful too. But then just be watchful as to where, check the price ranges, and just keep in mind that if a house, for example, is detached in 275, but it's a big house, just ask yourself why that is and see if it's worth what you're paying to get that, if that makes any sense. So if you have more questions, let me know here in the next couple of minutes. I didn't realize I've been talking so long, 51 minutes, but drop some more comments or questions if you have any more. This next week, I'm going to talk some more about some areas I think are overrated in the area. I think hopefully, well, you might be surprised. I don't know if you'll be disappointed or not, but I'm going to talk about some just places I think that kind of are lacking in value, in my opinion, for what you get. Not that they're necessarily bad, spots or whatever. A lot of these places I love. It's just that for what you're paying for, there might be some good pivot points. And of course, whenever I talk about a place that might feel overrated to me, I think I'm going to I'll give you some pivots as well to say, hey, if you're not going to go here, I would suggest maybe checking some other places out as well that might be similar, but might be cheaper. So any more questions as well? If you have any good grocery store, I should probably rank grocery stores at some point because I love grocery stores. If you have questions about grocery stores, feel free to drop it in the comments. I just looking at that Food Line comment made me think about that, but big fan quickly of Kroger and Wegmans. So being close to one of those is always a big deal for me. But if you have any other questions at all, throw them in there. And if there's anything else you want me to do or talk about, please let me know too. But if not, and it does not seem like anybody else has any more that they really need to get answered now, I'll drop my contact info here too. So if you do have questions, you can feel free to call, text, you can email as well. That's my phone number. I'll answer and respond as fast as I possibly can. And same goes with email. That's my personal email address. And my website as well, which is a bunch of my same names over and over and over again. Way to make it complicated. So that's it for tonight, I think. And so if you have any more questions, please drop them in the comments below in the posted version of the video. And I love talking with you guys all the time. I'm loving these lives. If you have more feedback as to what you like in these live streams, please also let me know too, because I love doing these. And it seems like people are liking these a lot. So I'll keep doing them as much as I can, mixing with the pre-planned, pre-recorded videos I'm doing as we go further as well. But let me know anything you want to improve the experience, because I'm all about improving your experience. And until I talk to you next, have a great evening and weekend, and I will see you on the next video.